Hello and welcome to Adobe Live for Business. For those of you who are joining us live and for those of you who are joining us on demand, hello and welcome. Please say hello and let us know where you're joining us from in the chat. This is our second episode of Adobe Live for Business. Last week we were joined by Dara Fagan from Rentokil, who shared his digital transformation story with Mark Greenaway. It was a great session, so be sure to check it out if you haven't already. We have lots more episodes of Adobe Live for Business in store for you, so don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or sign up for notifications on the homepage, which is linked below. So without further ado, I'm delighted to welcome Emilio Jéldrez, Senior UX Designer at King, who will be in conversation with Anita May Golding, XD Strategic Development, Adobe International. So over to you, Anita, and I hope you all enjoyed this week's session.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Anita May. I'm from the XD Strategic Development team here at Adobe, and I'm joined by one of my most favorite customers that I've had the privilege of working with, Emilio. Hey, Emilio, how's it going?
Hi, Anita. Here I am. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. You keeping well on this slightly gloomy autumnal day in Blighty?
Yeah, London weather is so diverse.
All right, perfect. Okay, so Emilio, obviously you've been super busy with all your incredible work at King. It would be fantastic if you could just almost like introduce yourself, all of the phenomenal work like which you've been doing. Take it away.
Sure. So yeah, well, I'm Emilio Jéldrez. I'm a senior UX designer at King. I have been working at King for a little more than 2 years, 2 years and a couple of months. And yeah, I have been in the gaming industry for over 9 years. So I started doing console games for kids, and then pretty much the whole world turned into mobile games. So that was kind of suddenly everyone was doing mobile games. So that was kind of the new thing. And since then, well, I've been doing just pretty much focusing on that.
Incredible. Okay. So Emilio, obviously, like you've really seen that transition, hey, to obviously mobile, as you said. So earlier this year, from kind of stalking King, like you guys had over 271 million monthly active players across web, social, and of course also like your mobile platforms. What's it like, being a designer at King, and just in terms of how like yourself and your wider teams like really ensure that like a game is engaging, intuitive, and that players can really develop that almost like emotional connection as well, because there's so many different elements, hey, to really make that like an engaging experience. What's that like?
Yeah, well, King is it's been in the gaming industry since Candy Crush like explode in the world, and that's 2012. I think since then, like the industry have changed a lot. I think now we have been like, well, there is so many craft involved in creating a game, a mobile game mostly. So and I think in the engaging part, I think is about like the game design. So yeah. Our game designers are incredibly good, and they're focusing on like which new features can we create, or like which new events will players like, and so there is it's a multidisciplinary job, and I think in the making it usable for everyone, we have been, well, one of the other craft we work with, and like that is kind of the core of, I think, pretty much the company is working like with data that we have at the VPU side, we data scientists, and then we have like the game designer coming with the new feature and like how we can, like the game can, like the new mechanics for the game. And now we have researchers like help us like, okay, how this like testing this stuff with like showing it to players and how that can like how it's working and making sure like, okay, players are liking it, like how we can iterate and like making sure it's usable and they understand how what are we trying to achieve. And I'm part of that. So I think today, I think one of the things have changed lately is like working together since the beginning. I think late in the early years is something that designers give you the brief and then like you work on it, and then like if you have any feedback, you have to go back to the design stage again. So we have been trying to change that and start working together from the beginning, because then it's so much easier to start iterating and anything. And I think that's something that also like prototyping has helped us a lot when we go to the testing phase, so we can go quickly and go there if there is any other mistake, something to fix in the game.
Definitely amazing. And like, especially in terms of that shift, hey, that's something which you guys, I'm sure, like always look at, like in terms of the best kind of workflow and the best sort of process to like go from idea to prototyping to kind of proof of concept and then doing that player testing. In terms of like how you work with, I guess, almost like your wider teams as well, what is that process like at the moment to really go from idea and then basically testing out all your proof of concepts and prototypes with players? Like what type of design, I guess, like different types, like methodology, do you feel like you guys like really adopt? Like Double Diamond, as it's obviously like super iterative, but anything which is specific to King?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much how we use. Well, we are a super agile team, and I think every team, in the industry, gaming industry, I think everyone is kind of agile methodology. So part of the loop is iterating as much as you can and quickly. And I think so we use a lot. Pretty much the Double Diamond is what we use. So when we are starting a new feature, like it's pretty much researching and understanding what other games have been doing, what also we have been doing. We have a lot of games, and sometimes it's the communication, since it's a big company. We have to make sure we're aligned with what other games have been doing. So there is a lot of research, and not only in this market like West. I took a big view on what's happening in the East market, like Chinese, Japanese, Korean games, because it's a completely different market, and their games, even can be kind of matched games too, that have different mechanics, different HUD and layout interface, and that's super interesting. And I always try to understand what's happening there. And then we go back like, okay, what of those makes sense for us? And then and then we start exploring like solutions. And that point when we define, we start like doing some tests with players and all that. But I think one of the important things what we do a lot, and at least in my teams, is like in the ideation session, when we start thinking in an idea, everyone is involved. And I think that's super good, because in previous companies, a lot of the ideas is coming from the game design and game designer, and it's like, okay, that is what we have to do, and then the rest of the team just do it. But I think something have changed is like right now it's like the game designer is involving everyone, so it's not just her ideas. It's like everyone feels also like they're listening to them, so they feel they're part of the feature. And at the same time, it's like and then we refine it. Good ideas come from everywhere, so it's good to hear what everyone have to say on this. So I think that's super important in the beginning. And then when we start like talking and like doing the diamonds, like we start iterating and showing to players as soon as possible. We have super good researchers, so a lot of the times we do prototypes, sometimes just mock-ups, sometimes I think that depends on what we want to discover. Like sometimes it's just idea, and we just like, okay, imagine the game now has this, and that the players start talking about that, and that's amazing because we don't have to spend much money or time in doing specific prototypes, and that's super good and quick to get feedback early and shape the product, the game itself. So yeah, I think that's pretty much like being agile and design thinking, double diamond kind of stuff. It's kind of part of like our everyday. Yeah, I think some studios we don't do that much. Do design sprints. I think there's more experimentation and something that they have to try something quick things. We don't, at least in my teams, we haven't done that. But I know that happens also at King.
Wow. Okay. My gosh, there's like so many different areas. There's like so many different elements, and like taking that really all-inclusive, almost like methodology to building out these different features. I guess like kind of looking at other industries and like other kind of design teams, you guys have such almost like an inclusive kind of working culture. Hey, it isn't just like design sits in this special, kind of secret squirrel room. Do you feel that kind of having all these different kind of areas of specialism from research and I guess other areas as well, kind of working together from the start, that almost kind of delivers the best experience to like all of your different players?
I do. I believe that, and I think that's something also we start changing. There is every day there is we have new crafts also involved in all this. I think recently we have starting adding to UX writers at the beginning of the process too. So because we used to test just sometimes, I don't know, mock-ups and on players, and the screen have, I don't know, using Lorem Ipsum kind of text, and then it's like, no, we have to start, having like proper text and testing the text is like also something we have to change, or like how players feel that text. So, and I think that in general, like diversity have given a lot of, give you a better product. I think that's for sure. And I think that's also good, at least in King in general, is super diverse. And London studio, I think, I don't know, like 60% of the studio is from outside UK, people coming. So it's like we have people from different backgrounds and in cultures, and that give you like different point of views when you start talking, because I don't know, when we're creating new characters, already like, I don't know, we have Brazilians and we have creating some carnival kind of costume, and like they can tell you like how that should be, and you have people like with that background.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's really unbelievable. I mean, that is genuinely like a precedent, which I'm sure so many different types of design teams and different companies really like aspire to be. Because I think having that like inclusive, diverse design team, that's where like the like magic really happens, doesn't it? And really creating like a usable experience, not just for one type of player, but obviously for all types of players as well.
Exactly. And I think that's when, like you mentioned, like we have 271 million active users a month, monthly. And that means like there is so many different type of players and different age, different cultures, religions, and that's it. Like we have to feel, and they have to feel that the game is for them. And that's, I think that's the hardest part of this job.
Absolutely, definitely. Do you kind of feel that going into the office and obviously working together, I can just imagine you have these amazing like meeting rooms with all of your like affinity diagrams and all this amazing magic and just incredible vibes. Do you feel like you've had to make a transition to kind of doing that almost like virtually now, with like all your different teams and cross-functional teams coming in?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, we haven't make it work. Like online, working from home. But obviously, you miss the office. Our office in London, at least, is amazing, and I think it's. There has a lot of perks in the office. At the same time, yeah, we had handled it, and I think right now we're using a lot of this software for whiteboard online. So you have like all these workshops and ideations. We just have like in this whiteboard like 20 pointers like moving across the screen, and everyone is online, and we try to keep it as much as possible, like having the same kind of interaction we used to have in the office. But at the same time, it's not the same because, it's not the face-to-face, all this chit-chat. You miss all that chit-chat that sometimes bring a lot of good conversations, and then give you something to start thinking, and the next meeting you have, a new idea thanks to that. But now it's like, I think that kind of stuff you miss, all that like extra interaction between your, between the peeps. But yeah, I think we can keep it, and I think one of the good things is like we probably with all how long this is going to be, this COVID thing, so we just can continue working from home without problems, and that's been super good for us at King, at least.
Absolutely, of course. I think a lot of organizations and different types of design teams are like also kind of asking those questions as well. But in terms of everything which like you've kind of discussed around your workflows, your ways of working, how ideas can like really come from like everywhere, not just from kind of doing one almost like systematic process. From like your perspective, like in terms of the different types of roles across design within King, and then of course the like wider gaming industry, how do you feel like these have almost like evolved over the years? Obviously the like big transition to mobile, that's been huge, hey? And then like just in terms of your processes as well, having everyone together from the start, do you like, I mean, and I'm not asking you to kind of reveal any super top secrets, but do you guys have any insights just in terms of what that's going to change, almost like looking forward into the future?
Yeah, I think one of the things, like for sure, at least in the UX side, is gonna start. I think you can see more and more. The UX maturity in companies have grown for sure. I think now that means like you have more UX directors in companies and studios, and I think more like senior positions, and at the same time more UX kind of specific positions like UX writers. There is getting more and more in games, and then something that used to do the game designers, like what's like the text on the like even what one button says can make a difference, and that you can see it definitely in mobile games. And so I think that kind of stuff, like I think definitely getting more like content designers, and probably I don't know what specifically, but definitely more specific UX roles. And at the same time, I think like looking at like being King is super player centric, and I think at the same time meaning like having like UX positions, like because it's like, or UX writers or whatever is user something titles, I think it's gonna change in the future, like not just in King, like in general. I think like something that means like I study graphic design, and even part of the studying design is the user, like you are designing for someone. And I think that's at some point that got lost, and then you get like, okay, you have like, and you create like UX designers like focusing like, okay, it's the player set, like focusing in the user again and the whole experience, and it's not like just the specific interface as UI. And I think something that is coming, I think it's like we're gonna be just designers as in the future, just again, and not UX designers. I see that coming. And I think like in general, we are, one of the things changing, I think, like I said, is like getting more people involved in the beginning. I think it's like we're working more closely with art, QA, and I think something that for example, a couple just game studios have is accessibility designers and accessibility positions, roles. And I think that's also, I think, is start like growing in the future, like having more accessibility roles, like looking at like how we can make our games more accessible. And I think that's also coming.
Massively. And I guess like with the kind of impact of, and yeah, like all these amazing like disruptive technologies coming out as well, there's obviously such a focus on, you know, AR and like VR, especially in gaming. Do you kind of foresee, in terms of making your games obviously still like accessible and really going out to that diverse audience, as you mentioned before, do you see any other almost like different types of like initiatives changing around like designing for disruptive tech for different players?
Yeah, I think the tech is being kind of stuck right now. Like there is coming a lot of new AR games, and even Pokemon Go has to change how we work. Like recently with all this COVID, because people can't go outside. So I think technology. I will just say how is like. I think we have to pay attention what is happening, but I wouldn't like say much on that right now, to be honest. I'm not sure what's happening on that, but like I said previously, I think on the outside tech, I think what's happening is going in the accessibility direction.
Absolutely. And keeping it obviously really almost like accessible for everyone. That's like the main priority, which everyone almost like as a designer should like really have. That's absolutely incredible. So you've obviously discussed so much around your ideas and really having different teams coming together to kind of go from idea to kind of having that player testing with all your different players. What keeps you almost like inspired as a designer at King? It's obviously a lot of different things from everything which you said, but like, do you have, I guess, almost like three main things, like which you go to and look for that almost like inspiration?
Yeah, to be honest, internet websites. I stopped browsing the internet mostly because it's kind of endless, and it was super hard for me to stop. Like, and it's like an ending point. So I pretty much subscribe to every newsletter I found. And then if I start checking them, I just unsubscribe. But so I use a lot of newsletter to see what's going on, like game design and related to video games or graphic design, and pretty much technology, and also books. I think like books is and will be like a good source of knowledge, and like to be up to date what's going on. And I think that's in general, I think is my main sources. And I think lately I have been using, I don't have a lot of social networks, but I used a couple, mostly because a lot of the people I was following on the newsletter are using a lot of those. So and then you have like a automatic update on what's going on those. And I think, and on my side, since I pretty much have to be up to date with mobile games, I play a lot. I have pretty much downloading any new games that are released and see what's getting inspiration from new games from different markets playing. So I think that's also one of where do I get a lot of my stuff. I think also playing in console and PC, but because I think something that's happened lately in gaming is like a lot of something happening in mobile now is using in console games and PC games and vice versa. I think a lot of like even the models, like free-to-play models, started in mobile, and now a lot of console games big like Fortnite are like free-to-play models using the same thing that started, I don't know, in Candy Crush. So I think like it's good to see like
Definitely.
everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. I know. And I mean, with that, and of course, with like our new ways of working, because for me personally, like as a designer, I get so much inspiration just from traveling to new places, like going around. Do you have a particular region in mind which really inspires you? And I mean, almost like a region which you just absolutely love to kind of spend much more time in, kind of think is like the next generation almost of players, even though, I mean, King covers everywhere, but anywhere specifically that really inspires you?
Like to get inspiration, like what's happening in the industry, or like?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think China is super advanced in gaming, and they have a like I said, it's a completely different market. A lot of to get in the China market is super hard, like from West, and the same thing like Chinese games in West. But at the same time, I think there is a lot of things happening there. It's a huge country with a lot of big companies and a lot of top talent there. And yeah, I think we recently got some people coming from China, and that, like I mentioned, like their point of views are completely different, and they get a lot of extra new things to the studio. So I think like at least I always looking what's happening in China, and their gaming studios, and news there. I think it's a lot of interesting things happening there.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, definitely. Absolutely, I'm agree with you. It's absolutely just everywhere, all this inspiration. So Emilio, we are coming up to the end of our session, even though I feel like me and you could talk for days. Do you have any kind of, I guess, almost like final takeaways of, I mean, already like you've given us so much inspiration and advice, and really kind of shared all the amazing work which you're doing, but I guess any other final pieces of advice which you would have to other designers working in other businesses to kind of keep them inspired and keep them really catering for their customers or their players and the people which they work with?
Sure. Well, I think I mentioned it early, and because it's something that I'm being super passionate lately, and I just got certified in accessible player experience from Able Gamers. We at ABK, some course that we did as across Activision, Blizzard, and King, around 50 people, like we got certified in accessibility for gaming, and I think that's something like everyone should be looking, not just gaming, not just websites. Everyone should be looking at making all their products accessible for everyone. Like I think that's kind of the Uber design, like making something that is, because it's super hard, and I think and maybe sometimes it's not that hard, like and it's more about like having the tools, like and I think also testing with players with disabilities or people with disabilities, all your products, making sure like they can use it.
Completely. All right. Emilio, I don't know what to say, but thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us today. It's been absolutely unbelievable, like really having you join us and giving us all your imperative like words of wisdom and everything like that. Thank you so much again. You carry on doing all the incredible work which you're doing, and obviously clearly absolutely loving it. I still have so many questions which I wanted to ask you, but we can chat another time for sure. But thank you so much again, and stay safe, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks so much, Emilio.
Thanks, Anita. Take care. Bye-bye.